Jimmy never got over the loss of his mother. For a long time after her passing, he would visit her grave in Marion and cling to it, only to be pulled away by his uncle Marcus and taken home. At first, Jimmy struggled to adapt to his new environment, but soon fell into the daily routine of the Winslow household. The Winslows, Quakers, were a strict but loving couple who took their roles as guardians seriously. Both Hortense and Marcus did their best to welcome Jimmy into the family, treating him like he was one of their own. They indulged his mood swings, rarely made him join in doing chores, and pampered him in ways they didn't do for their own biological children, which, luckily, didn't cause resentment among the cousins. It took the summer of 1942 to familiarize Jimmy with the surrounding town, a settlement his uncle's ancestor, Joseph Winslow, helped found back in the 1830s. The new home lacked books or music and no imaginary enemies to fight. It was a total shift from the world Jimmy knew. The art his mother loved was absent, and in its place was the lifestyle his father appreciated, albeit with love and care. Soon Jimmy came to call Hortense and Marcus mom and dad, severing the ties to Winton, who was too busy in California to care. School a rough experience at first, with Jimmy seeming lost and dazed much of the time early on, even breaking down in class one time from missing his mother so much, became just another part of his Fairmont routine. He spent time with his paternal grandparents, Charles and Emma Dean, on their farm, which was close to the Winslows. Life continued like this for many years, with Jimmy becoming absorbed into Fairmont's town life. He continued acting out skits for both his own personal pleasure and to entertain the Winslows, developing a love of acting that blossomed into a passion. Upon reaching high school, Jimmy's focus turned increasingly in two directions: acting and basketball. In the former, he found a kindred spirit in his teacher Adeline Knoll, who was just as passionate about acting and theater as he was. Jimmy, still carrying his childhood trauma, could be standoffish, rude, and shy all in one, but Mrs. Knoll worked on him, breaking down his defenses, seeing the potential underneath his difficult exterior. While Adeline was a positive influence on his life, another, darker one came into it around the same time, in the form of Reverend James Deward. A native of Fairmont, Dwyer had been away when Jimmy first arrived in town after his mother's passing, only returning after the end of the Second World War, where he quickly took a liking to the young, impressionably Dean. Dwyer, a closeted gay man, took Jimmy under his wing early on. A worldly man who loved the arts like Mildred did, Dwyer lent Jimmy books, music, and took him to the movies, slowly earning his trust. Dwyer, preying on Dean's need for a father figure, groomed him. On the one hand, the Reverend acted as a offering advice and encouragement towards Jimmy's budding ambitions at being an actor. On the other hand, Dwyer exploited Jimmy's vulnerable emotional state to take advantage of him for his own perverted purposes, abusing him in secret. At the time, Jimmy, eager for acceptance and afraid he would push Dwyer away, said nothing to anyone of this, only opening up about it years later to Elizabeth Taylor while on the set of Giant. It is unclear for how long Dwyer abused Dean, but it was for several years at least, Jimmy doing his best to keep their relationship secret from the Winslows and his friends at school. In 1949, convinced he was destined for a career as an actor, and wishing to get away from Dwyer, Jimmy left Indiana to live with his father and his wife, Ethel Case. Winton allowed his son to stay with him on the condition he attend Santa Monica College studying law. Jimmy agreed, but soon decided he couldn't take law school and transferred to UCLA to study drama. A choice that infuriated Winton, but Jimmy at this point didn't care what his father thought of his chosen career path. Surprisingly, Winton didn't kick him out, begrudgingly accepting his son's choice, though he did let him know plainly he thought it an idiotic move. Regardless of what his father thought, Jimmy was dead set on pursuing a life in the arts, and UCLA was where he would begin to realize his dream.